2018.
Right.
So I just have to look back at my emails.
Okay. All right. Let me know.
Okay.
What's up, y'all? We're bantering as you guys are talking about work. So, but either way, it'd be good for us to rebuild it anyway.
Okay.
Make it more dynamic, more user friendly, and
well, we'll talk later.
Yes, put sermons up there and all that stuff. So we'll talk. We'll make it work.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to be. We could do so much more with it. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm sorry. My first question. So what's going on in these streets since I've been missing? And nothing.
I don't know.
Probably feels like I'm missing some fun.
So I mean, I feel like in terms of social media, I know you guys had mentioned about that track star Shikari. Was her name Shikari?
Yes, I heard
I
she
know,
lasted online.
Yeah. That was hot on social media.
I'm sure it was. I mean, my thing is you can't talk trash beforehand and then go in there and come in last place. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. And then the fact that she pulled out on the next race too.
She did?
Yeah, because that was for the 100-meter. She was supposed to run again for, I guess, the 200-meter. I don't know track, but she pulled out of that race because of, I guess, not doing so well on the one that she did compete in.
It's so hard to get yourself psychologically back into it. But I mean, she's young. Hopefully she'll get back.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's kind of something we talked about before, the fear of having to live up to standards that you've met before. And how do you deal with that? Do you just pull out, or do you continue and, whatever happens, happens?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, y'all. Sorry, we're sitting there talking about Sha'Carri Richardson. Come on, y'all. Please share. Get your questions on so we can kind of talk about this stuff. I mean, she didn't look all the way there mentally. And I'm not saying it in a mean way, but just to me, like, she wasn't like, you could tell at the end when she did that
her head was in the game.
Her head was in the game, but at the end, she looked like she was embarrassed. It just kind of her interview at the end was just kind of, I was like, okay.
Oh no, I didn't see it.
She's upset.
But I think that's sometimes a challenge that millennials face. I guess when it comes to competition, being able to handle it. Like, it's okay to not do so well.
Yeah, but it's not okay to talk trash and then
Right. So I'm saying, if you're going to talk trash, then you gotta live up to what you said.
Yeah.
But if you can't handle it, I don't know. I'm not the type of person. I just gotta own up to it, whether I did good or I did bad.
Yeah. Nah, I hear you.
Hey, Marlita.
Hey, Marlita.
Isha.
I was here. Join. Hold on. You want this? Keep it down some, okay? Sorry, I got my child. So y'all
on daddy duty today.
Yes. I forgot it was on. Then I'm like, oh, the time I would take off is the time I want. How you doing? Not that I want to revel in people's demise.
Of course not. Never.
Sometimes it's some stuff is just like, oh God, I knew they were going to like eat her alive in that whole thing. Oh well. Hey, Marlita. Hi, Nabata. Hey, Mona. How you doing? Hope I said your name right. If I didn't, sorry. Welcome to Maximize Monday. Y'all, please do us a favor and share at this time.
And I feel like I see some new names. So if you're watching for the first time, type VIP in the comments so we can say hello.
Yes, if you're new, type VIP in the comment section. Hey, Sandra. Hey, Keisha. Hey. And we're going to continue on our discussion on fear. And we'll see how far we get with this one. And of course, last week was pre-taped. What's the matter?
It wasn't pre-taped.
Somebody was watching this.
I'm on the live real quick. Just walk on up, okay? Hey, Sister Carol. And what's I saying? Oh, we had to pre-tape it and send it out. If you were part of our conversations group, it was live in the conversations group when we did it. If you're not a part of Bethany Conversations, Maya can let you know how did they get involved in the conversations group.
So if you go over to our Facebook page, the Bethany Facebook page, and click on the groups tab, you will see the whole list of groups that we have there available to you guys. We have some for women's ministry, men's ministry, but you'll also see the Bethany Conversations group. Click the join button, and that's all it takes.
Yeah, we go live in there early sometimes, so you can do that.
Mhm.
Conversations group on Facebook.
Yeah, and it's really just a great way for everyone to be connected with each other, not just with like leadership at Bethany, but with between you guys as a church family to support each other.
Yeah. So fear, let's jump into this. So we've been talking about fear for the past few weeks. Fear, being afraid, those things all go hand in hand. Let's dig a little deep into it. One of my favorite stories that really shows fear is David and Goliath. The story is introduced in 1 Samuel 17. Goliath is on the scene. He shows up. Israel and the Philistines are at war over a piece of property. That's really what the fight was over. It was Israel was trying to gain the land that God promised them. The Philistines were saying, no, this is our land. Y'all can't have it. So they're fighting each other. And the Philistines send their champion out, whose name is Goliath. Now, we reduced this to a child story, but it's really not a children's story. Or just for children, put it that way.
That's really true. I never thought about it like that.
Because we think of it. Psalms 23, Daniel in the lion's den, David and Goliath, and a few others, Noah. As adults, reading him and studying him, because that's what you learned about so much as children.
Right.
You reduce him to, oh, this young man did this, and oh, this and we miss the power of it because, we're adults, and we get cynical as adults. But you notice when you read 1 Samuel 17, when it introduces Goliath, it spends about 4 to 6, I can't remember, about 4 to 6 verses on describing how big Goliath is, his armor, and everything about him. He's this champion, and he's armored to the T. He's tall. He's got somebody holding his shield for him. Hey, Derek. And the first thing you think about is this intimidating force.
Yeah.
Intimidation. The purpose of intimidation is fear. Purpose of intimidation is fear. So the Bible's painting this picture of Goliath as this man to understand why Israel's so intimidated. So now, mind you, this is a whole army scared of one person. One person. Now, common sense says, now again, Goliath has a whole army behind him too. So their thought is Goliath and the army. But the real fear was not the army.
Right.
It was Goliath. This thing that represents intimidation. So the Bible goes through all this stuff, describing what Goliath looks like, all that he has, his wins, etc., to show us that, watch this, your Goliath always talks a whole lot of trash, looks the part, and the whole point of intimidation is for us to get caught up in the thing we're afraid of and neglect the God that we should be believing in. And everybody has a Goliath. Because Goliath talks. Goliath says more and says a whole lot. Because Goliath talks trash through that whole chapter.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of First Peter says the enemy comes like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. The Bible doesn't call him a lion. It says he's like a roaring lion, because lions, when they roar, they intimidate their prey. So lions roar, the prey freezes, right? And they don't know what to do because this sound produces a freeze or a panic. And I want all of us to ask the question, what is our Goliath?
Yeah.
What is our Goliath? The thing that, watch this, intimidates you from moving forward. The presence of it whether vocally or something that we see, that causes us to freeze, panic, have anxiety, and run away. Everybody's got a Goliath that as soon as it presents itself, we stop believing in God and have more faith in what intimidates us rather than the God that empowers us. I was a long way of saying all that, but Goliath is real. And if you want to overcome your fears, the question we have to ask ourselves, have we identified our Goliath?
Mm-hmm.
Have we identified the thing that causes us to panic, be afraid, anxious, freeze, do nothing? Whether it's somebody, a voice, or something you see, fear starts to take over.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was thinking, don't look at me like that. I just think it's interesting that so much detail was given to Goliath in the Bible. You know, I can think of other Bible characters that aren't given that much detail, but have like a major impact in the Bible. But anyway, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, David wasn't like a major soldier in the army. Exactly. So my thoughts are that the people who were underestimated David, and just thinking from personal experience, when people underestimate you, sometimes that can kind of seep into your own mentality. And I'm just thinking that all that detail that was given to Goliath should have hit on some of David's insecurities.
Yeah.
Based on how people treated him or what they assume he was capable of not capable of.
Right. Yeah, I think it all depends. You're right. It depends on our perception of Goliath. It's not that we all have a Goliath. It's just all of us see Goliath differently.
Right.
When you read the story, Israel saw Goliath and got afraid. David saw Goliath like, who are you?
Exactly.
The God of the army, you know. So now we're at perception. Because David believed his God. Remember, this is promised land that God gave to Israel. So it's not like God wasn't going to be on their side. You know, but their history with the Philistines had them afraid, you know, that we couldn't win this battle. When you read the text, there were times where they ran out. The church, we're not opening. We'll let you guys know when the church is going to open. We're waiting for this surge to calm down some. It says that Israel would run out, right? And I'm sure all of us have experienced this. Read the story. Israel will run out and say, you know what? We're going to go fight them. As soon as they run out, as soon as Goliath presents himself and says something, they run away. So fear will have us constantly starting and never finishing. We'll get ready. The Bible says they would shout for battle. Like they would get hyped. Yeah, we're going to go fight. And do their battle cry and then run out. And as soon as they saw Goliath, went right back. Most of us talk a lot of trash in the beginning.
Yeah.
What we're going to do, what we're not going to take, what we're going to do, And as soon as Goliath presents his head and we say something, the first thing we do is he'll shirk back. When they say talk is cheap, that's real. This is where I'm getting ahead of myself. The problem that we have is I'm all for, have words of faith. David had words of faith, but he also acted on those words of faith. He acted on it. So it's not enough just to say it. You got to do it also. Denise, hit me up later about that. I'll chat with you on the side about that. You can email me or call me here at the church, extension 317. Hey, LaRonda. Hey, Corey. But I think most people, and we've all done it before. I'm gonna go do this. And all of a sudden, when you're faced to actually do it, you're like,
never mind.
Never mind.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, if I can be real here, I believe that a lot of our fears is wrapped in procrastination.
Mm.
A lot of our fears, I need to write that down. A lot of our fears,
It's on the replay.
I'm not going to remember to look. A lot of our fears is trapped in procrastination. We call it, I'm getting ready to do it, when the reality is we're just scared. Because a lot of our fears is trapped in procrastination. If we're honest.
Yeah.
Think about the stuff you're procrastinating on doing. And I bet you a lot of it's laziness, some of it's fear.
Do you have your book on top of your computer?
Oh, yes. Good.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I just think it's funny how our Goliaths, like, they hit at what our main insecurities are.
Yep.
But the difference that keeps us from running back in fear is our faith and trust in God.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be.
Because when it's real, it's real. And I think it's more instinctual.
Yep. And fear feels so strong compared to faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's crazy? You don't have to fight to be afraid, but you have to fight to have faith.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's our dilemma because fear is so natural to us. It takes no work to be afraid. It takes work to believe. Because again, most of us our procrastination, our fears wrapped in procrastination. I'm getting there, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What did I just
say? I don't know. Fear and procrastination. It's on the replay. I'll watch it again.
Good.
So Sandra asks, could it also be a fear of oneself?
Yes, because I think a lot of our biggest fears comes from looking at us instead of looking at God.
Mm-hmm.
We look at us and what we can and can't fix, rather than looking at God and what He can fix. See, that's the difference. Israel was looking at themselves. David was looking at God. So David didn't have faith in himself. He had faith in God.
Mm-hmm.
Israel was looking at their ability, thus their reasoning for fear.
Yeah.
Just learn this. When Paul says, finally, my brethren, put on the whole armor of God and that stuff like that, he's using a phrase, a wording that an army would use in a fight that they know they couldn't win.
Mm-hmm.
So Paul is actually acknowledging that we can't win a war against the demonic by ourselves. It's a war that's going to be won with God. So I think there's power to acknowledging on my own, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But with God, it can get done. On my own, I can't win this. On my own, I'm no match for this. But with God, all things are possible.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of us, our bigger issues are, again, is our procrastination. Some people, we think they're lazy when they're just scared.
Mm.
Some people are just lazy. But sometimes laziness has a root to it. It's fear. It's other things. It's pain,
right.
It's depression, But again, fear is natural to us. And you don't have to fight to be afraid. Oh, but you got to fight to have faith, though.
That's the real battle.
Sorry, I'm writing this down. Go ahead, Mike. Talk to people real quick.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think you said earlier this weekend that we can think ourselves out of things and how that can feed into like that continual cycle of being fear and procrastination and actually not starting or getting things done. So how much of it is in our heads as opposed to what the real outside cause of the fear?
Yeah. And the crazy thing is God always calls you to something that'll make you afraid. He calls you to something bigger than yourself. Mm-hmm. God and Jehovah are the same. He always calls you to something that's bigger than you, where you need Him to help get it done. So God's call on your life will usually make you afraid sometimes. But again, it goes back to, I'm terrified because I'm looking at my inabilities and my abilities, not God taking over my abilities if I give it to him to let him do the work. So I said that before, like I think last week I said, I still get nervous when I got to preach.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started preaching, I was up all night. Now I can go to sleep. Still nervous, but you get used to it after a while. Instead of your fears being like this huge flame of fire, now it's like that. And you manage it easier because the best way to overcome fear, guess what? Like we talked about last week, is to challenge your fears. The best way to overcome it. You get used to being afraid and challenging them. Okay.
That's true. Because there's a sense of comfort in that fear too.
Talk about it.
No, I mean that's all I got. There's a sense of comfort that comes with fear, and not moving in it because it's a safe space. Yeah. So I think that's a lot of the problem too.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. It really is.
Did you get your food?
I'll get my lunch came in.
I could tell.
Look what I drew.
Nice.
Sorry, y'all.
I'm sorry.
You okay?
Like
You okay? You okay? You know, I got patience for the kids and people. So, but you're right. But fear is comfortable for us because it's my lunch. Sit down and eat. You ate already. My food. But fear is very familiar. It's comfortable. It takes no work to stay in your comfort zone. It's comfortable. That's why thus it is called a comfort zone. It's natural to us. But God wants to break us out of that comfort zone. So a lot of our comfort zones, a lot of our fears are wrapped in procrastination, and a lot of our fears are wrapped in the comfort zone. Wow. So,
Did you write the whole sermon?
No, not the whole sermon, just the points. So fear, so fear is natural for us, and I think that's why the devil uses it, because it's so easy to get in and hard to get out of. Again, you know, we joked last week about you being afraid of spiders, but you know, or I thought about it like a snake being in your bed. You said you'd run out the house when all you gotta do is close the door. You had to run out the house.
No, but it can slither underneath the cracks and stuff. I'm just saying.
If it's a big size snake, unless you got them little small, But watch this.
Garden snakes.
But what it shows though is that when you're afraid, look at where your mind goes. It goes into running of realities. And that's what intimidation does. It's like I remember the episode of SpongeBob. You used to watch SpongeBob back in the day?
No, I didn't like SpongeBob. Sorry.
You're weird. Where he was like, the bully came and said, "I'm gonna kick your butt," and it was like in the morning. And then SpongeBob, as every hour went on, he kept looking at the clock and he kept rehearsing, "Kick your butt." And the guy kept messing them all down. "I'm gonna kick your butt. I'm gonna kick your butt." And then it's like even like when people that were bullied at school. When I see you after school, it's on. And the whole day, if you're one of those people, you're scared the whole day, like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you start imagining all these things.
Yeah.
Because intimidation creates a narrative for you. And intimidation will cause you to create a future that hasn't even happened yet. Because our Goliath is all about intimidation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
If I can get you too afraid to even start, the devil has you. That's his whole premise. If I can get you afraid to start, I got you. If I can, I will win if I can get you to freeze right before things start.
Right.
That's the win for the devil. So what fear is manifests in 1 Samuel 17, it manifests itself as paralysis. Fear will have you stuck. You freeze. I don't know if anybody's ever been afraid before, where you kind of froze for a minute and couldn't move. You couldn't. It just, you're so terrified. You just,
Can't
wherever
do
you were, you just froze. Some people are stuck in that state of freezing.
anything.
Where they never move anywhere because they're afraid to move on. So fear is paralysis in there. Fear is also anxiety. Fear comes out in anxiety. Anxiety and fear go together. Because all anxiety is fear of the future. Anxiety is, I can't remember how the person explained it. But a lot of our anxieties, and people who've ever had anxiety before, a lot of it is the fear of reality in our heads. That's really what it is when you think about it. I'll be honest, I've had moments of anxiety, periods of it, where your future looks so dark you can't see anything beyond a negative future, which causes anxiety. So fear can be paralysis. It can reveal itself in anxiety. It can reveal itself in stress. You think you're stressed out when you're just scared. So jokingly, when COVID was at its height before and it's coming back now.
Yeah.
As soon as you cough, oh my God. Oh, geez, you had to blow your nose. You just, you start, I got COVID. I got to get, and everything just, makes you panic. Because fear can produce stress and panic. And if you're not aware of yourself, you'll make some mistakes. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I know you mentioned fear and like paralysis, but what about fear in running?
Well, I was going to get to that, fight or flight. So fear can either produce fight or flight. You run away or you run towards it. Me and Bishop kind of talked about this last night on either the pre or post discussion. I can't remember. Where you fix a problem, and then after the problem's over, that's when all the fear hits you. You run towards to solve it, and then all of a sudden, when it's over, all the feelings you should have felt
catches up with you.
Catches up to you, and you're like, "Oh my God, what did I just do?" You're like, that's a real feeling. So some of us run towards our fears, some of us run away from them.
I think it's. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think part of it depends on what it is too. Some things we're afraid of, we run towards. Things we're afraid, we run away from. It's a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think sometimes, like, in terms of fear and running, like that's when you can make irrational decisions instead of actually thinking about, okay, what is it you need to do? So, like, for example, years ago, I was in middle school. My brother, we were racing up the steps and he fell backwards, tumbled down the steps and cracked his head open. There was blood everywhere. So instead of being rational, of course, like trying to help him and whatnot, I ran out the back of the house, screaming my head off, not running anywhere. It was just instinctual running away, which is so bad. But that processing was not there. And I think sometimes, that can get us into some trouble when we're facing fears. We're too quick, instinctually to run away instead of processing through it.
Right. To go into fixing the problem rather than some of us, we avoid it. There you go.
Yeah.
Because we avoid what we fear usually. Yeah. Yeah, it's the avoidance of not being able to fix it sometimes can cause us to run away.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll pray for you, sir. And I think, again, intuitively, our first response usually is to fight or flight, run away, based off of our temperament on the inside. Because really what it comes down to, now that I'm thinking about it, all insecurity is rooted in fear. The things we're insecure of, we're insecure of that because there's a fear of either failing and not working out, or a fear of rejection, a fear of somebody not accepting us. It goes back to the whole Adam and Eve in the garden. Who told you?
Yeah.
You know, because why would I fear something unless? Why would I be insecure about something unless I would think that somebody wouldn't find it acceptable?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I don't show you that side of me, or I want to keep that part of me away from you because I don't accept it. So I'm afraid
Right.
you won't accept it also. It's like
That's true.
people being in a relationship where they're like, you know what, I'm cool with how you look, or I'm cool with how big your feet are. I don't care. And you keep, I like my feet. My feet are too big. You know, feet, my feet. Look at my feet. Look at my feet. You know, and you just keep bringing it up, bringing it up, bringing it up. Right? I'm not talking
Yeah.
about. I'm just talking about just you and general. I'm not serious. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about you in general.
I
People,
know.
you know that. I'm talking about for the people. And then the person looks at you and says, you know what, your feet are big. And you're like, see, I knew you thought my feet was big. Well, you kept
Look at
drawing
the
attention
problem.
to it. You kept
Yeah.
focusing on it until the person agreed with you.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our insecurities are wrapped in fear also. Because why would I be insecure about it if I wasn't afraid of either failing, falling, or somebody not finding it acceptable? We cooking today. Hope y'all getting this.
But that's so interesting because those might all be very valid insecurities or fears to have.
Mhm.
But you already have something that's telling you it's okay. Like, let it go. So then why are we still feeding into it?
Again, it's harder to walk in faith than it is to walk in fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, until you get until you mature to a place where you kind of grow in God more and it becomes easier, it's a little more difficult. Um, I think to answer your question, uh, David comes in and says, you know, God's got this. You're defying God. He kept feeding himself the voice of, he knew what God was able to do. Here it is. His previous victories gave him faith for his present one.
Mm-hmm.
It was to Saul. Saul says, you can't do this. And David's like, yo, God delivered from a lion and a bear. Surely he'll take care of this. I think sometimes we forget about previous victories,
Yeah.
previous wins. And when you forget about them, you come into a new problem with amnesia. Because
Mm-hmm.
David's whole thing was, it's not about the enemy that I'm fighting. It's the fact that there is one to fight.
Yeah.
We get caught up on what we're fighting, not who's fighting with us. When David's whole premise is, it doesn't matter if it's a lion, it's a bear, or if it's Goliath, God is still God.
Mm-hmm.
We say things like this. Well, I dealt with that, but I ain't never dealt with this before. So I'm afraid because I never, say mama said hello, I never dealt with this.
Pastor Nick says, hey.
Right? Am I right though? No,
Yeah.
she was working, boy. She
Oh, man.
that was funny. You wasn't gonna say nothing, was you?
I was like, I hope people don't see this.
I mean, it was just obvious. I was like,
If I don't acknowledge it, it didn't happen.
just acknowledge the obvious. Nobody from Bishop ain't put no cash app. He didn't have a cash app. So if there's anybody in the comments ask for cash apps, and you know that's not, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we get caught up in, well, I did this, but I never did this. But I know you know, I'm just saying for everybody else, but we get so focused on what we're fighting that we're not paying attention to who's with us in the fight.
Yep.
Whether it's you starting a business, writing a book, doing whatever, it's still the same God in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was PayPal. So there's a still same God in all of it. All right. So don't get hung up on what you're fighting. Focus on who's with you in the fight.
Right. That's good. Because like you said, God doesn't change. So he's not going to change based on the different situations that you're finding yourself in.
Yeah. The battle may change, but God hasn't. And this is good. So I'm sorry. I'm just
Do
writing.
all of us maximizers? Do we get co-credit?
Co-credit. Co-credit.
Uh-huh.
I'll say Maya helped jog this thought in my head. I would say like Maya
I'm
LaBouche said
just kidding.
boom. but y'all read the story today and look at how Israel responds to Goliath versus how David does. Look at how Saul does it. Saul's the king. He should be down there fighting with them. But when by this time he's already not on, by this time he's not on God's side. Because the whole, he messed up in chapter 15, I think. He still God's anointed though. But he should have been down there fighting. But fear will have you living in avoidance. He's up in the palace and fear will make you have other people fighting your battles.
Mm-hmm.
When you should be down there in the thick of it, you're hiding away because you're too scared to confront it yourself.
Yeah.
And then fearful people always try to pull you into their fears.
Like crabs in a barrel, right?
Yep. Because they want you afraid just like them. So Saul says to David, you can't do this. You're too young. He just doesn't want David to get credit, and he wants David locked in his fears too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you have to be careful who you listen to. Because, you are, especially if you're already afraid already, why add more fear to your life by letting somebody talk to you? That's going to add to your fears. So there's certain people I just don't call about certain things.
So we need to use our discernment because I feel like sometimes it's easy. Like we like attention. We like for other people to like us, so that we try to be friends with everybody. But not everybody's going to be in your corner or have the best of intentions for you.
Nope. Because of all people, Saul should have been a help to David. But rather, he was trying to detract him and then wanted him to go down there and wear his armor. So when David won, it would look like Saul was down there getting the credit.
Mm-hmm.
But David recognized, I can't fight with these armor. It's not, if I'm going to fight this battle, I got to be me.
Yeah.
If I got to fight this battle, I got to do it the way God gifted me to do it. And fearful people will always try to make you them. When the only way you win is by being who God called you to be. David knew how to work a slingshot with a rock. At this time, he wasn't a warrior down with knife and he had a knife for the shepherd, but he had no huge sword and all his armor on.
Mm-hmm. I
know how to take care of this. Your gifting will help you overcome the thing that intimidates you. What you're good at will help you overcome the thing that intimidates you.
That's good.
Whew.
That's a good mic drop.
And go in the name of the Lord. Go in the name of the Lord. David didn't go saying how good he was with throwing a rock. He said, I'm coming in the name of the Lord. All right. I'm going with him. And David had to go by himself. Nobody else there to support him. He just had to have no faith in God to get it done. And we'll talk more about this next week, because after David killed Goliath, then all the rest of them got courage and went and fought.
Right.
So your wins are not for you. Your wins are for other people too. Some folk are waiting for you to break the barrier to give them faith to break the barrier. All right. We'll talk more about this next week. Any questions? Anything we got to go over real quick?
So Simona said this needs to be put on a disc.
What am I eating? What's up, JR? Hey, Corey, I'm glad it's helping you, man. He said, I come in the name of the Lord. What I'm eating today, healthy. I got some fruit. All right, that's cool, man. Hit me up. Fruit and a sweet potato. How I get this weight off of me? I do.
The sweet potato at least have like some sugar on it or something. Butter.
It's I think it's got apples and something else or something. I don't remember.
Oh,
Got it from Healthy Gardens.
I feel like it would be good.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's going on this week?
This week, let's pull up the graphic for you. Of course, we have the recap tonight at 5:30 with the whole recap team talking about yesterday's service. And then the broadcast of this weekend's drive-in experience at 7. Tuesday, we're back for Real Men Talk, which I heard is going to be really, really good. So make sure that you invite a friend, a brother, to be part of that conversation tomorrow at 7. And then this is what I'm most excited for, Driving Under the Stars this Wednesday at 7:30. It's going to be fun to be able to pull up and be able to be here in person for drive-in service on Wednesday. And I know, Pastor Nick, you said people can order up at the Harvest Cafe up until 6:15.
Yeah, up at 6:15
on that Wednesday. Yeah, so make sure Chef always makes good food. So if you want to eat something while you're getting some good word, make sure you order from the Abundant Harvest Cafe up until 6:15 on that Wednesday. And then, of course, we're back for On Point on Saturday at 9 a.m. talking about things that are happening in the world, culture, sports, anything that's happening at 9 a.m. for On Point Radio. And then that evening at 6 p.m. Emerging Worship, which is always really great. And then, of course, on Sunday, it's a full day of worship, Engage Live starting at 7:50 and 9:45. Encounter at 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. And then to cap it all off, we have the 10 Times Better series, starting with the Q&A at 5:30, followed by the message. So a lot of great stuff happening this week.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And don't forget, so we'll finish this next week. And don't forget, we'll be off Labor Day, of course. And then starting September, we're going to start at noon. At noon in September. That'll be September the, I don't have my phone on me.
I think it's the 6th.
Yeah.
Right?
That's Labor Day, right?
I don't know.
So we'll be up the 13th.
Around there. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. The 13th. Yes, we're literally a church that never sleeps. The 13th. We'll be starting at noon from here on out. Instead of 1 o'clock, lunchtime, get your lunch, get your food out. We're going to do at noon every day. Every Monday, excuse me. And yes, we got this Christmas
every
Village.
Day.
Christmas Village, outside drive up. We got to talk about that.
Okay.
So we can, if we're going to do it this year, how we can do it, and since we probably not going to be back in the building anytime soon, we're being patient, y'all. We're taking our time. We'll let you know.
Slow and steady wins the race.
We want people to be safe. Yep. So God and Jehovah are the same person. Same person. The true God is Jehovah. Jehovah is the true God. All right, y'all. I gotta go eat. I'm hungry. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. Have on you. In Jesus' name, amen. See y'all later.
Bye.
Yeah, you can go back and watch it after we're done.